In December 2016, a North Korean math prodigy faced the toughest decision of his life. In the dazzling city of Hong Kong, the world's brightest young mathematicians gathered for the prestigious International Mathematical Olympiad. Among the competitors was a team shrouded in secrecy. 6 students from North Korea, one of the most isolated nations on the planet. Dressed in crisp white shirts and black trousers, with loyalty badges of the Kims pinned over their hearts, they moved with quiet discipline. But one boy stood out. Yong Yorli, just 17 years old, seemed different from his stoic teammates. His eyes constantly flicked to the side, his shoulders tense. While others focused on equations, Yong's mind was consumed with something far more dangerous than math. For Yong, this wasn't just a competition, it was a chance at freedom. Chapter 1. Growing up in North Korea. Yong Yorli's story starts in a small town in North Korea, a country where your social status and opportunities are often determined by your family's background and history. Yong was lucky enough to be born into a relatively well-off family, which meant he didn't face the extreme hardships many North Koreans endure. Families with ties to those who fought against Japan during World War II or have connections to the ruling party tend to have more privileges. Yong's father saw potential in him and played an important role in supporting his early education. Unlike many children who are forced into hard manual labor or military training, Yong had the rare chance to focus on academics, particularly mathematics. From a young age, Yong showed a special talent with numbers. His father would make him practice multiplication tables every single day before he could go play. These early years paid off when Yong, at just 12 years old, won a special prize in a national mathematics competition, beating much older students and catching the eye of top educational representatives in the North Korean regime. North Korea's education system is very strict, with a strong focus on loyalty to the regime, along with academic subjects. However, Yong's amazing understanding of numbers and equations allowed him to pursue a more focused education in mathematics, a rare path available only to a few gifted students. Because of his talents, he was granted access to a laptop loaded with math programs to help with his training, which is usually unheard of. But this laptop was necessary to hone his skills. Despite the lack of internet and frequent power outages, Yong managed to keep his laptop charged using a solar panel he built himself. And in the winter, he used a gasoline-powered generator. Yong's mathematical skill eventually got him selected for North Korea's team at the International Mathematical Olympiad, IMO, a prestigious event that brings together the best young mathematicians from around the world. The training process for the IMO in North Korea is intense because the country sees success in these types of international events as a matter of national pride. Yong went through rigorous preparation, spending long hours solving complex problems with the help of top mathematicians in the country. This training was not just about improving his math skills, but also about building a sense of duty and patriotism. The regime puts immense pressure on its participants to not only succeed, but win. Yong's first trip abroad was eye-opening. Traveling to Colombia for the IMO was a rare chance since it was his first time leaving North Korea. The trip was full of new things. From the brightly lit cities to the many cars, there were things he had never seen before. His team did great, ranking 5th worldwide, just behind China, South Korea, the US, and Russia. Yong himself won a silver medal, which was a big achievement. But it wasn't enough for the North Korean regime, which expected him to win gold because of the significant investment they made in him. As Yong stood on the stage in Colombia, his mind was racing. North Korea had been pushing his training for years, recognizing his talent and potential to contribute to the regime's goals. But why was North Korea so interested in students like him? Yong knew the regime wasn't pushing him for no reason. Yong thought back to being given his laptop. What did the regime gain from minds like his? These questions filled Yong's mind, adding to his anxiety as he prepared to make a decision that could change his life forever. Yong was facing an uncertain future, with forces beyond his control, watching his every move. Chapter 2. North Korea's hacking history. North Korea's cyber division traces its origins to the 1970s when the regime began sending students to countries like Russia, China, and East Germany to study coding. Initially, the program aimed to enhance efficiency in domestic factories. However, in the 1980s and 1990s, Kim Jong-il recognized the potential of establishing a team of hackers to serve military purposes. This group was tasked with conducting espionage for the government and generating revenue. In the early 1990s, the Korea Computer Center, KCC, was founded as the central hub for North Korea's cyber and computer-related activities. It was part of Kim Jong-il's broader initiative to modernize the country's technological capabilities. While the KCC initially focused on developing software and hardware, its scope quickly expanded to include hacking and cyber warfare. It became a training ground for the country's brightest minds, equipping them with the expertise needed for advanced cyber operations. When Kim Jong-un assumed power, he prioritized the cyber division, recognizing its strategic importance. Faced with crippling international sanctions due to its nuclear weapons program, North Korea turned to cybercrime as a means of economic survival. Cyber operations offered a cost-effective, high-reward alternative to offset the impact of sanctions and access global financial resources. The regime has successfully stolen hundreds of millions of dollars through sophisticated cyberattacks targeting banks, cryptocurrency platforms, and international businesses. North Korea's cyber efforts have included several high-profile attacks that garnered global attention, such as the Sony Pictures hack in 2014 and the Bangladesh bank heist in 2016. Through its robust cyber infrastructure and strategic hacking campaigns, North Korea has managed to fund its operations and sustain itself despite ongoing sanctions. Given the persistent economic pressure, it is expected that North Korea will continue its reliance on cyber attacks, primarily through its infamous hacking groups. Chapter 3. The Lazarus Group. The Lazarus Group, a notorious hacking organization supported by the North Korean government, is renowned for training and deploying elite cyber warriors who view the internet as their battleground. This group has been tied to some of the most significant cyber attacks in modern history. Known for their innovative hacking techniques, they have caused billions of dollars in financial losses globally. The earliest recorded operation attributed to the Lazarus Group was Operation Troy, carried out in 2009. This espionage campaign utilized distributed denial-of-service DOS attacks to target the South Korean government. The rise of the Lazarus Group has prompted a surge in cybersecurity measures by both private companies and governments worldwide. Corporations such as Sony have become increasingly vigilant, hiring top-tier cybersecurity experts and adopting advanced protective protocols. Governments have also taken action, sharing intelligence about North Korean cyber operations and collaborating on investigations to track and counter the group's activities. For instance, the United States has imposed sanctions on individuals and entities linked to the Lazarus Group. One prominent figure associated with the group is Park Jin-hyuk, a North Korean programmer whose journey into cyber warfare began as a young boy. Born into a relatively privileged family, Park showed exceptional aptitude for mathematics and computer science early in life. Identified through North Korea's rigorous talent scouting system, he was selected to attend a specialized school where he received intense training in programming and network security. After completing his education, Park was recruited into the elite Lazarus Group. His daily life revolved around working in secretive state-run facilities, where he and his team operated under constant surveillance. The regime provided them with high-quality equipment and resources but demanded absolute loyalty in return. The pressure to succeed was immense, with the group's successes directly tied to national pride and financial survival. Park and his colleagues worked long hours, often isolated from their families and the outside world, their lives consumed by the mission of advancing North Korea's cyber capabilities. Park rose to prominence within the Lazarus Group and played a pivotal role in several high-profile operations. He was heavily involved in the Sony Pictures hack in 2014, where the group leaked sensitive corporate data and disrupted operations in response to the release of a satirical film about Kim Jong-un. In 2016, he contributed to the Bangladesh bank heist, an audacious scheme to steal nearly $1 billion through fraudulent SWIFT transactions, of which $81 million was successfully withdrawn before being traced. In 2018, the U.S. Department of Justice indicted Park Jin-hyuk, accusing him of spearheading these and other cyber attacks on behalf of the North Korean regime. The indictment provided a detailed account of how Park and his team employed tactics like phishing, malware deployment, and social engineering to infiltrate their targets. It was a groundbreaking move, marking one of the first times an individual hacker was formally charged with cybercrimes attributed to North Korea. Despite the charges, Park remains at large, believed to be residing in North Korea under the regime's protection. His life is a stark example of how the state absorbs talented individuals into its machinery, using their skills to wage economic and political warfare while shielding them from international consequences. Although he enjoys privileges and status within North Korea, his work comes at the cost of personal freedom, as every aspect of his life is tightly controlled by the regime. The Lazarus Group continues to operate as a powerful cyber force for North Korea, leveraging advanced hacking techniques to achieve financial and political goals. Park Jin-hyuk's story highlights not only the group's technical expertise, but also the human element behind these operations. Brilliant minds shaped and controlled by a regime determined to maintain its grip on power. Their activities underscore the growing need for global cooperation in combating state-sponsored cyber threats and holding individuals like Park accountable. And Yang Yu knew this story very well and understood that exactly the same fate awaited him, which he really did not want. So for himself, little by little, he began to realize everything. Chapter 4. Life as a cyber warrior. The journey to becoming a cyber warrior in North Korea often starts at a young age, as demonstrated by individuals like Yang Yoli. Talented students are identified through nationwide testing, particularly in subjects such as mathematics and science. Those with exceptional abilities are selected for specialized programs that provide rigorous training in computer science and hacking techniques. The training these recruits undergo is intensive and comprehensive, covering key areas of cyber strategies, including network infiltration, malware development, and software engineering. They are taught to view the internet as a battlefield, where they can conduct cyber warfare in service of the North Korean regime's goals. Hours are spent mastering these skills to prepare them for executing highly sophisticated cyber attacks. Life as a cyber warrior in North Korea is demanding and highly regimented. Recruits live in state-controlled facilities, adhering to strict schedules. Most of their day is devoted to coding, advanced computer science studies, and penetration testing exercises. These operatives work in teams, with each member focusing on a specific area of expertise, ensuring that every mission can be executed with precision. Their work environment is isolated, with minimal access to information from outside the country. The regime provides them with advanced equipment, such as high-quality PCs and specialized software, but their activities are under constant surveillance to guarantee loyalty and prevent any potential leaks. Despite the immense pressure and demanding nature of their work, cyber warriors hold a privileged position within North Korean society. They receive better food, superior housing, and other benefits that are unavailable to the general population. These privileges are part of the regime's strategy to secure their loyalty, deter defection, and maintain their commitment to the state's objectives. This system reflects the regime's prioritization of its cyber capabilities, training a select group of individuals to become highly skilled operatives who play a critical role in advancing North Korea's digital warfare ambitions. Chapter 5. Defecting. In North Korea. Defecting from North Korea is one of the most dangerous endeavors a person can undertake, with the constant threat of being captured or killed. Most escape attempts begin by crossing the heavily fortified borders, typically into China, as the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea is one of the most militarized and hazardous borders in the world. North Korea's border security is extreme, featuring landmines, electric fences, and guards with orders to shoot on sight. Even after crossing into China, defectors remain in grave danger. They must evade Chinese authorities, who routinely repatriate North Koreans. For those sent back, the consequences are severe: imprisonment, torture, or even execution. Entire families of defectors are often punished, with relatives sent to labor camps to deter others from attempting to flee. To prevent defections, the North Korean regime employs a variety of oppressive measures. Propaganda plays a significant role, portraying the outside world, especially South Korea and the United States, as hostile and dangerous. Despite widespread starvation and poverty, the regime glorifies North Korean life and leadership through state-controlled media, ensuring citizens remain loyal and fearful of the outside world. The threat of collective punishment is another powerful deterrent. If someone defects, Their family members who remain in North Korea often face dire consequences, including persecution, imprisonment, or execution. This policy, which can extend across 3 generations, serves as an effective tool for controlling potential defectors. Internal travel is also tightly regulated. Citizens must obtain permits to move between regions, and international travel is virtually impossible for ordinary people. The government controls food distribution and employment, ensuring citizens remain dependent on the state for survival. Surveillance is omnipresent, with secret police and informants constantly monitoring the population. Public executions of captured escapees serve as grim reminders of the fate awaiting those who dare to flee. Despite these overwhelming barriers, some North Koreans manage to defect each year. For Jong Yoli, the decision to escape became unavoidable after returning from the 2015 Mathematical Olympiad. He learned from a friend that government agents were interrogating his close associates and relatives. Jong quickly realized the regime intended to exploit his mathematical talent by forcing him to work as a hacker. The thought of being isolated in one of the military's most secretive divisions, completely devoid of freedom, filled him with dread. Jong understood he had one final opportunity to escape. He could only compete in the Mathematical Olympiad until he turned 18, giving him one last chance at the 2016 competition in Hong Kong. At the Olympiad, held at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Jong carefully planned his defection. As a competitor, he wasn't closely supervised and had developed a friendly rapport with the teachers accompanying the team. After earning another silver medal, Jong seized his chance. He quietly left his dorm, hailed a taxi to the airport, and with the assistance of an airline worker, located the South Korean consulate. Taking another cab to the consulate, Jong declared his intention to defect to a South Korean diplomat. For the next 70 days, Jong remained in Hong Kong, anxiously awaiting safe passage while South Korean officials negotiated on his behalf. Finally, he was allowed to travel to Seoul, where he began his new life. Jong's defection sent shockwaves through North Korea. In response, the regime suspended its participation in the Mathematical Olympiad for 2 years and implemented stricter monitoring, including assigning government agents to accompany teams abroad. Now in his early 30s, Jong lives a life vastly different from the one he left behind in North Korea. Adopting a new name and identity to protect himself from potential threats, he resides in Seoul, South Korea's bustling capital, where he has integrated into society as best he can, though the scars of his past remain. Academic and professional life. After his escape, Jong's talent in mathematics allowed him to secure a place at Seoul National University, one of South Korea's most prestigious institutions. There, he immersed himself in his studies, further honing his skills in pure and applied mathematics. The transition was challenging. Coming from an education system in North Korea that was heavily censored and propagandized, Jong initially struggled to adapt to the freedom and critical thinking encouraged in South Korean academia. Nevertheless, his determination paid off. Jong excelled in his studies and eventually earned a degree in mathematics. Today, he works as a data analyst for a tech company in Seoul, utilizing his analytical abilities to solve real-world problems. While he appreciates the stability and intellectual stimulation his job provides, Jong also quietly volunteers with organizations that support North Korean defectors, helping others navigate the daunting challenges of adjusting to life in a free society. Despite his professional success, Jong's personal life is marked by profound loneliness and guilt. He has not seen or communicated with his family since his escape, fearing that any attempt to contact them could expose them to punishment by the North Korean regime. He carries the emotional burden of knowing his defection may have led to severe consequences for his loved ones, a reality many defectors face. Jong's friends and colleagues describe him as reserved but kind. He avoids discussing his past in detail, even with those closest to him, as the trauma of his experiences remains difficult to confront. To cope, Jong has taken up journaling and occasionally shares his story anonymously through online platforms, hoping to raise awareness about the plight of North Koreans and the sacrifices defectors make for freedom. Despite the obstacles he faces, Jong remains hopeful. He dreams of a future where he can reunite with his family under safer circumstances, and perhaps even return to a liberated North Korea to use his skills to help rebuild the country. Until then, Yang focuses on living each day with purpose, cherishing the freedom he once could only imagine.